lunch. Hello, we're Gerry and Scarlett. Welcome to the Gerry and Scarlett show. We're just a couple from Glasgow who wanted their own chat show with topical pattern news and reviews, and so we're doing it.
Yeah, so today the lunch menu is as follows. We are, more on that later, we are talking about Mull, our little trip to Mull. We're just back, so we're going to go into that and the little EV mini adventure that we had.
Electric vehicle.
Then we are going down a bit of a rabbit hole with Moi, which is about Gwyneth Paltrow and The Rock. Very exciting. And then we're going to look at the series Wednesday, the Netflix series following young Wednesday Addams, and then the film The Whale, which won 2 Oscars. It's got nominated for loads of Oscars, won 2 Oscars.
Multi-Oscar award-winning film, The Whale.
Yeah.
But first, before we go down the rabbit hole with you, what's your rabbit hole again? Was it starts with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Gwyneth Paltrow on trial for hit and run ski accident, and it ends up with why The Rock can't ever get a cold on set.
Okay, I'll work on that. In the meantime, as we mentioned, we decided we were going to go off to Mull. We were going to try taking the electric car up to the Highlands, seeing if we can get to the island. We knew the Mull Spa Resort had a charging point, so we thought, can we get there? Because we love driving the Mini. It's been really cool having an electric car.
Such a nice drive.
But but you do worry if you run out of charge, what are you gonna do?
The range anxiety is real. So range anxiety, for anyone who hasn't heard of it, is for people who drive electric vehicles, EVs, and you have a range within your car of how many miles that car will go. And sometimes the car does not go that level of mileage. So you think you planned for it, but actually because you're driving very fast or you're using all the appliances in the car, or it's cold outside or whatever the thing is, the range can actually vary on your car. So they've nicknamed it range anxiety, which is...
is this the rabbit hole?
Real? No. This is not.
We're doing an EV. We're supposed to be talking about Mull.
I just thought we need to explain that because not everyone speaks the EV language. So Mull was 104 by Google Maps
to get us to the Mull Spa Resort.
Mull Spa Hotel. And our Mini normally gets us about 89 miles on a charge. However, that's city driving, so there is a big difference. We knew we could get more out of it because we weren't going to be on motorways the whole way. So we were pushing our luck. Yes, but we were fairly sure we could do it. And actually, on the way there, we tapped out a little bit, didn't we? And we charged it from the fear.
Well, we panicked straight away. You can see there, like we charged. There's loads of charging points on the way up to Mull. One of the amazing things about living in Scotland, you're like, the views are absolutely amazing.
The charge is free. That is one of the main
charge is free.
Point is that the electricity is free on the public charge points of Charge Scotland. So that is
a video there as well. So the plus point was that our ferry got cancelled, and then we had to get a late ferry over. So it meant we had a whole evening in Oban. And Oban's absolutely cracking.
It is.
There's loads of great wee pubs.
I think bigger than I expected.
Yeah,
I've been there when I was wee, but
it's like a big wee town, and it's beautiful at night, and all kind of lights up. It was St. Patrick's night as well, so I had a real good buzz. But
this is the hotel. Yeah, lovely swimming pool.
I didn't take many videos of the hotel because we arrived in the middle of the night. But driving on Mull is amazing as well. It's a lot of single road tracks, but obviously Tobermory is the wee place that you go to. Beautiful little towns, little painted
lots of
buildings,
shops, lots of really cute little shops that you can buy knickknacks in, and a whiskey distillery that we obviously spent a fortune in. Yeah,
obviously. But you bought some deodorant, that ball stick you've got there.
Bought some deodorant, Himalayan salt deodorant, which we will review for you at some point later on when I figure out whether it actually works or if I'm just going to stink the whole place out.
Yeah, no, it was cool. We definitely recommend. That was McGawkin's pub as well. It looks like there's a wee bit of a vibe. There's like live music on. That was the main pub. There was there's the Mish Nish where we ate, which was lovely. Tobermory distilleries, really cool. Everyone was super friendly on the island. I've got to say, Mull was like really, really welcoming.
The most friendly.
And such a beautiful wee town, like a beautiful wee place to go to, and lovely to drive in. The hotel, we'll probably put some pictures up of it later, but it was really cool, the Mull Spa hotel.
And by the way, it rained the entire time we were there, and we still enjoyed it, which I think is a major accolade.
And one of my favorite things was being on the ferry and hearing that really posh woman saying pajamas
and lunch, was it not? Oh no, you just took that on afterwards.
I just think there's certain words that you can really lean into, and lunch was one, because like when you're on holiday, lunch is really important.
But that came out of that posh woman saying pajamas.
What's your favorite word to say?
Oh, I like it's a Spanish word, which makes me sound posh.
What's that?
But baseball,
Baseball.
which is baseball in Spanish. But my Spanish teacher always said it baseball.
Yeah, it's not as good as lunch.
Oh, it is baseball. You got a bend in it.
Lunch.
Baseball.
I quite like umbrella as well. We should probably get on with the reviews.
The actual show. So, rabbit hole this week.
As if that wasn't a rabbit hole. Now we have Scarlett's rabbit hole. Have I got a guess?
Oh, actually, no. Let's talk about the deodorant first, really quickly.
Okay, go on.
So we're gonna, I'm gonna give you updates on this every week. So I bought this Himalayan salt deodorant ball to replace normal deodorant. It's all natural.
And you got it on Mull, didn't you?
I got it in Mull, in one of the shops on Mull, in Tobermory. And you have to wet it slightly and then you rub it on like normal deodorant. And then the idea being that she did say after 2 weeks that it works because it gets all your toxins out. So it stops you being smelly.
Well, what was amazing is you asked the women in the store, you said, does it work? And she went, not for me. That was like your opening gambit. She went, but lots of people said it does work after 2 weeks. So Scarlett is going to review this.
I've been using it for 2 days. That's good. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Smell it, I
do you know what? Maybe I should review it. Maybe.
I smell great, by the way. Smell that.
Okay, put your arm down. So we'll maybe review that. It does rubbing salt into your armpits actually work? I'm a bit dubious about it.
Right. Well, it's working for me so far.
Right, okay, should we go down the rabbit hole?
Right. So the rabbit hole this week, as I just teased you with, is that so the opening one that I fell down. Oh, should we do the guessing or should we not bother? Just crack on with it.
Well, okay. Well, you're starting with Gwyneth Paltrow.
The headline that I first fell down this rabbit hole with: Gwyneth Paltrow on trial for hit and run ski accident. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Okay.
And then my last one was why The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, can't ever get a cold on set.
Now, is it connected to cold weather because it's skiing and she was out there, and when she did her hit and run, she was out a lot, and actually since she was out and she did a hit and run, she stayed out all night and she got a cold, and since then no top stars are allowed to stay out at night and get a cold.
I think it would make the headlines if Gwyneth Paltrow did get a cold because she's such a wellness guru that it would be a bit of a downfall, wouldn't it? But actually no, that wasn't it, but good guessing.
Okay.
No, so where we start. So Gwyneth is on trial this week for the hit and run ski accident. The trial starts this week in New York. It's alleged that she was involved in an accident with a 72-year-old pensioner on the baby slopes in Utah. He claims that she hit him, so she bumped into him very hard. And I think he broke some ribs and stuff, so it must have been a fairly big accident. And she claims that he actually bumped into her. So
this is a pensioner.
Yeah, he's a doctor as well. And he was seeking 3.1 million in damages, which, because a lot of his accusations have now been thrown out already before they've even started, has now been reduced to 300,000, and she is seeking $1 plus her lawyer's fees. In what do they call it? You know, when they just want a I can't remember what the word is, but basically she just wants him to admit that he was wrong, and she thinks that he's going after her for her fame. So anyway, my main takeaway from this was
Wait, she crashed into him?
No, this is what I'm saying. She says that he crashed into her. He says that she crashed into him.
This was on baby slopes.
That's what made me laugh. So this was my main takeaway from this story, was utter delightment that there's something she is not good at. She's obviously terrible at skiing.
Well, she's not good at not being an arse as well, isn't she? Really?
No.
So this podcast wasn't supposed to be about nipping at people, but I mean, listen to that story.
Well, nothing's been proven yet. It's just going to trial. As far as the
she was on a baby slope crashing into pensioners.
Or he crashed into her.
How did a pensioner crash into someone?
He's only 72. He's like our parents' age. They could definitely crash into someone.
He said he was a doctor. He sounds quite intelligent.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so my main takeaway from that was it was quite clear she was rubbish at skiing. So then I fell down to the next rabbit hole there, which was celebs that could have been professional sports stars.
Okay.
Right. And Dean Cain, big Superman of my generation anyway.
TV Superman,
he could have been a big American football star. He had an academic scholarship and was like a proper superstar at the uni of Princeton.
Okay.
Actual Superman at actual Princeton. I mean, I feel like everyone should know that fact. It's amazing. Anyway, he got signed by the Buffalo Bills, which I think are a big at NFL, aren't they?
Yeah. It's proper pro.
Yeah, but he got a very bad injury in training camp. So couldn't continue and had to find something else to do.
Do you think it's funny that some people have other careers and get injured and drop down to the career that you and I have?
I know. Oh, that's brutal.
Soul destroying.
So true. Kurt Russell, same story with him. Injury stalled his burgeoning baseball career. Burt Reynolds had a terrible car crash that ended his American football career. Did all right in the end, though, didn't he? George Clooney.
Football.
Cincinnati Reds. Baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball's a funny one for me. You see, in some versions of it, they get other people to do the running for them and stuff as well. You're like, and you see the shape of some, baseball athletes, look at me, the power and stuff, they can slug it. Yeah. It's not the same as American football, though, is it? Or ice hockey, or,
isn't it?
They're smoking, chewing tobacco. Wha-bam!
I just keep thinking how good George Clooney would look in that baseball. I'd love to see that. Why has he not done a baseball movie?
I wasn't thinking of that till now.
I wonder if he's done a baseball movie. Because you'd think he would.
Oh, there you are. We can write and suggest that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was anyway. Dwayne Johnson.
There you go.
Yeah, The Rock. Well, we all know what he did.
Wrestling.
But he started in American football.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
I can see
very
that.
good at American football. He was a national champ, which is a big deal in America.
College champ, then I guess.
Uni, is that the same?
Yeah.
So kind of the same.
Got, yeah.
Yeah. In 1991, he was the national champ. He had loads of recurring injuries, though. So he turned to wrestling, where injuries don't seem to matter very much, because I guess you can push past your pain threshold.
He seems brilliant at everything.
Well, so
yeah.
that's very well done. I couldn't have put that segue? Better. So anyway, so then my next rabbit hole was, is there anything that The Rock can't do?
Grow hair.
Valid, but we don't actually.
There you are. Is that your segment?
No. I've got a few other things, but actually that one didn't come up. So number one, he cannot be a convincing high school kid. His friends at high school all thought he was an undercover cop.
Yeah,
they all thought he was a narc because he looked so much older than all of them.
He'll have been 6 foot plus when he was 13 or something.
Yeah, totally. Number two, things that The Rock cannot do. He cannot eat like a normal human.
He has to keep his calories up.
He has 7 meals a day. You'll like this one, including 1 or sometimes 2 steaks in a day.
Oh my God, that sounds brilliant.
And lots of fish, apparently.
He basically eats like a lion.
Yeah, I was going to say he must be on that. What's that trendy Hollywood diet? The hunter diet, isn't it? Hunter-gatherer. So
but they don't do much hunting. They just gather, don't they?
No, he just gathers. Yeah. The third thing he cannot do is be a full American. This all-American hero is actually half Canadian.
Is he? I thought he was not Hawaiian.
Well, that's American, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought, is he half Canadian, half Hawaiian?
His dad's Canadian.
Oh, he's gone up in my.
Yeah,
he was already
I also knew you would love that. You'll love it even more.
Further.
Oh my God, you're going to leave me for him. He's a Canadian citizen. Fourth thing that he cannot do, he cannot play Willy Wonka. He was second in line for Tim Burton's Johnny Depp character.
Wow, that would have been a different character, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Another thing he can't do.
Yes.
Go down one of those kid slides at the playground like a child. They're always a bit sticky anyway, let alone if you're as big as The Rock. There's quite a lot really that The Rock can do.
Yeah, and the final one
is hear him saying that.
And the end of the rabbit hole here is he cannot get a cold on set. And the reason for this is he uses different cologne for each character he plays. So he might get very confused if he had a blocked nose. Oh,
right. So literally he wears it. That's one of his,
that's his thing to get in character.
That's like the lowest form of method acting I think I've ever heard of, where someone actually just does smell.
He's been through quite a few careers to get there, hasn't he? So he needs something to get him in the zone. I find smells quite useful.
Well, that's going to be quite interesting when we talk about the whale a bit later. I know we're going to do Wednesday first, but like in terms of like method, you had obviously Brendan Fraser wearing the put on weight. We also had the fat suit as well. Yeah. So these things that kind of help you up. It's interesting that smell. I've never heard of smell being one.
Yeah, have you not?
No.
Oh no, I think it's quite a common one, but it is. I think.
What if you play something like Fagin or something like that from Oliver? Do you have to like smell a bit of
I think quite a lot of people use it as part of method acting. They don't wash or they, like things like that. It's quite common.
Wow.
Super common. Yeah.
Method, we'll come back to that later. We'll talk about success.
With my bloodhound nose. I was working up something.
You're going to struggle with that with your armpits being that close to your nose.
That's a good review for this deodorant because I do have bloodhound scent.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that was the rabbit hole. We got out of it successfully. Well done.
So Wednesday.
Yeah. So Wednesday, another Netflix special. Wednesday is an American coming-of-age supernatural comedy television series based on the character Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family, starring Jenna Ortega. She's received massive plaudits for it and memes aplenty all over the internet. After being expelled from yet another school, Wednesday's parents enroll her at their old high school, the Nevermore Academy, a private school for monstrous outcasts. Wednesday's cold, emotionless personality and her defiant nature make it difficult for her to connect with her schoolmates and cause her to run afoul of the school's principal, Larissa Weems. However, she discovers that she has inherited her mother's psychic abilities, which allow her to solve a local murder mystery. It's basically a whodunit, really, the series, isn't it? Like, there's a lot going on there. It's but the whole thing is who is this? Who is the murderer?
Who's the what's the name of the?
It's a Hyde, the monster.
Yeah, who's the Hyde? So it's we really enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would, if I'm being perfectly honest, because the Addams Family has never been one of my absolute favorites. Like, I enjoy it, but I wouldn't pick it out as a favorite.
Yeah, do you know, I think you're right. I think that this is a series that is not for people that are necessarily nostalgic about the Addams Family.
No, there's some lovely wee moments. Like you picked out the other day, she came, like in the last season, there's this shot of her walking down the stairs, and she does that kind of floaty thing that Morticia Addams does.
Yeah.
And there's lots of lovely wee nods to it, but I would say you don't need to have seen it. You don't need to be a mad fan. It's more just a fun series to watch. That's
there's lots of little nods left, right, and centre. Like there's lots of clicking fingers every so. They're quite not overly done. Someone says a bell rings in a coffee shop. Someone's like, "You rang," and it's like all underplayed. Yeah. It's a very modern. It's Tim Burton style. Tim Burton directed, but it's a very modern, updated version of it. Like I thought, like the soundtrack's amazing for a start. You've got all these really cool reworked covers, lots like cello covers.
Strings, she plays the cello in it, and that's kind of a recurring theme of the strings music. And
there's a cello cover of Fleetwood Mac, and various other really good tracks. And they also managed to fit in an homage to the Wednesday Addams, the original Wednesday Addams from the 60s. The young girl doing her dancing, which was a massive meme online. There's an homage to that within it, with Jenna Ortega fitting in some of those.
Well, do you know? So I read a little thing about what
cool.
she was sort of saying about that. I was listening to an interview with her, and she was saying that actually, like Tim Burton had said to her that he wanted her to come up with it rather than a choreographer, which initially had sort of semi-scared her a little bit, and then he gave her loads of time to work on it. But she said I had so much going on within the film, and like learning the cello solos, and like, you know, there was just so much going on. She said I didn't really have time.
She playing the cello in it as well.
Prioritize it. She obviously learned
some of it.
I don't know if she plays the whole thing, but she definitely was saying that she was learning some of it. Because it's Vivaldi as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, some of it was.
And anyway, she was learning all sorts of mad stuff, and so she didn't really put that much time in it. So she said a lot of it she kind of improvised on the morning with him.
Yeah.
And just kind of went for it. And she was already by that point so in character that I guess she just did, in inverted commas, the right thing. Like she knew where she was going with it, and it just came together. Because that is, I would say, one of the most striking parts of that whole series.
Yeah, and
I love that.
It's the fact that there's a lot of really cool modern stuff going on here. The music in that kind of those kind of covers and using the cello to do it. Paint It Black was another one. Cool, like 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever kind of covers done in a really cool style. But then that kind of modern tip of the heads to memes and things like that, left, right, and center. So the fact that dance was in there, it felt very, very, very cool and very modern. And the way it was shot was Tim Burton, but not like old school Edward Scissorhands type stuff. It still felt like a Netflix TV series.
Yeah.
And which I thought was really, really cool that it managed to fit all that in. For me, the biggest problem was always going to be Wednesday Addams as a character. How are you going to root for her when she is so cold? I mean, what was the description there? And they said that Wednesday's cold, emotionless personality and her defiant nature make it difficult for her to connect with her schoolmates. Also makes it quite difficult as a viewer to root for her all the time. But she does such an amazing job of pushing that little bit of emotion underneath the exterior. So I think the Addams Family's got that real problem where they say all these horrible things like, it'll be murder tonight, and you're like, oh, if we're lucky.
It's good stalking and stuff like that.
And then if you actually do a murder, you're like, we should go to jail. Like, so in the real world, how does this work?
We did sort of think a little bit about that, didn't we? Because there's a plot line during it whereby it is quite tricky to root for her, and but you almost immediately get over it, I would say.
Yeah,
I certainly did.
Without giving spoilers, they do deal with that, I think, really well. And I guess, really how do you feel it worked for you as a whodunit? Like, as a
really
simple,
well. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I think we were fairly on board the whole way through. We were guessing constantly, really, weren't we? And kind of, and pretty much were there. We got it just before they got it. And, I thought they did a really good job of it. The characters are all really interesting. It's a really interesting mix of. It's got a wee dash of Harry Potter in there as well.
Oh, there's loads of Harry Potter, isn't there?
It feels like it's addressing that kind of audience, but obviously with a darker side.
I feel like that's the Netflix bit of it though, where they're like, we need to get a bit of that audience as well. There's like the kind of private school, kind of magical private school kind of thing. But that's a big, the Nevermore Academy is a big character in it.
There's much less emphasis on the magic, I would say, than there is in Harry Potter. But Harry Potter is primarily about the magic. This is, I would have said, primarily about the relationships.
That was kind of my problem with it, though. They've got all these kids there at the school with these magic powers, and they don't really use them that much.
Oh, see, that's because you like all that fantasy stuff, though. I was much more interested into the relationships. It doesn't make sense, does it? That's the problem.
But then I guess when there's a wee hand putting about, and everyone's like, no one's like worrying where the brain is or how this thing actually works. You're like, well, it's a fantasy kind of world.
If you get into that, you're really in trouble because you're never going to make that work. But yeah.
I would be good. I think I would be really good at doing the thing.
I think you would be, yeah. Oh, excuse me. Thank you very much.
Okay.
But yeah, the thing acting, whoever was doing that was
some of the best goddamn hand acting I've ever seen.
Yeah, they deserve an Oscar for that.
Okay, so what are you thinking for a score?
Score.
How many S's? Out of 5 S's?
Out of 4 out of 5. I really loved it.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people this will be a 5 out of 5, but for me I'm going to do 4 Gs as well, so that's an 8. 4 S's and 4 Gs. Yeah. We're going to have to work on this rating system, but at the moment it's all we've got. So that's an 8, of which 4 are S's and 4 are Gs.
Yeah.
For Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I really enjoyed it, and you've got to do I think you've got to get the ratings kind of right, because it's got to give you somewhere to go. Because
5 out of 5 is basically perfection. Like, there's nothing that I can see that you could improve upon that, and that is pretty impossible to get. Well,
did we improve upon it with the next one, which was film, was The Whale, multi-Oscar nominated The Whale, which is about a reclusive, morbidly obese English teacher who attempts to reconnect with his estranged teenage daughter, starring, as we mentioned, Brendan Fraser, who won Best Actor Oscar for this performance, which is incredible. There's something funny I feel about Brendan Fraser, because I've never really seen him as he seems like such a warm, lovely, kind of, I don't know, happy-go-lucky, beefy, kind of handsome guy from the 90s. And then I always found him to be quite a hammy actor, probably because the parts he was playing, it's the Mummy, George of the Jungle, whatever it is, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't really see him as someone who would, certainly didn't think he would be someone who would provide an Oscar-nominated performance, let alone win one. And he's absolutely phenomenal.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
He's absolutely. So interestingly though, so I started, once we'd watched this film, it's one of those kind of films that really sits with you, because I would say it's pretty harrowing, to be honest. Like, it's about, so let's start with what it's about. So it's about sexuality, religion, and obesity. Is that fair? Those kind of the main hit points. And it feels very, very much like a true story. It's not, but it is heavily based on the writer's life.
Right.
So he has experienced all of these things,
That's
but
not to the same,
not to the same extent as the character Charlie has. But this, so he's, and it really feels like that. It's so deeply personal. It's so cutting. It's so, I thought it was incredible. But so it turned out, so we sort of looked, when we were watching it, we were like, this is like watching a play. It was so reminiscent of a play. Anyway, so when we finished it, I started looking it up, and it's
based on a play. But you can tell that because the whole thing's set in the one room. Obviously, someone being morbidly obese, it's not going to be
move far.
Different locations, but they do a lot with the flat that he's in, and I just found that really dramatic. The fact that you've got that literally one scene, essentially, like it's not one scene, it's like 3 acts the way it's done, but I think it's all in the flat except for like one cutaway.
Oh, you see, when there's on his doorstep, he goes out, I think twice maybe on his doorstep, and the first time he goes out, It's utterly heartbreaking. You just see, he gets a little bit of like, I think it's sunshine or something on his face, and you just see Brendan Fraser's face. It's just like the most complex. It's incredible. It's absolutely beautiful. But anyway, so this was a play, and it's caused an absolute furore, total sensation in 2012 when it first came out. It was off Broadway, and it blew all the critics away. So everybody knew it was good. And just by chance, the director of the film, Darren Aronofsky,
well done. It's not an easy one.
That's a tricky one for this.
Darren Aronofsky.
He saw the play, as we thought he might have. When we were watching it, we were like, I think this director must have seen the play, because there was so many play-like movements within the film, talking to people across a room and certain sort of
obviously
choices.
Not Charlie, but like the rest of the supporting cast have got to move quite a lot.
Really, really sort of play-like movements. But anyway, so the cast hadn't seen it, but the director had seen the play, and just really connected to it. So that was 2012. Now, bear in mind, it then took 10 years for this to be. It was made during the pandemic, but Darren Aronofsky actually said he was like, so just less than 10 years. Excuse me. It took him all that time because he couldn't find the main actor.
Really?
He couldn't find a Charlie. He says he saw loads. He met loads of people, and then he was watching. I've forgotten the name of the film, but another film that Brendan Fraser had done. Brendan Fraser hasn't been on this scene, as you mentioned, for quite a while. He thinks that it's because it was basically he had an injury. He had a physical accident, and he also was suffering trauma from a sexual harassment, which was from within the industry. And so he felt, when he outed this person who was the ex-president of the Golden Globes, very high in Hollywood, he felt he got totally eradicated out of Hollywood, and just felt very unwelcome. And that's from his perspective why he hasn't really worked.
Do you know, it's so funny because like when we were looking at it, and there's a sadness in Brendan Fraser, and like I think for people
that's exactly why I thought it was. Yeah.
Well, that's it. Like there is a kind of a sadness, whereas not directly connected to kind of the feelings of being in the body of a morbidly obese man, but there's obviously something he's able to call upon that's just super, like he can appreciate that outsiderness, and he's brought that to it, which is, I mean, it's such a visceral film. You see the fat suit is unbelievable. Like you see his body, but like, and also like see the sound of it. There's a really sparse soundtrack. I barely even noticed any of the musical soundtrack. A lot of it's just like rain patter or like the creaking of furniture, which actually adds loads of drama when he's going. That reminded me a bit of The Bear when you're seeing the chopping all up close. And you're like, oh my God, someone's going to cut the finger. Every time he is creaking around the house and leaning on a sofa to get up, you really hear. It helps you really understand like the weight of what he's carrying around, both metaphorically and physically, I think.
Yeah. Well,
so I thought that was incredible.
They use, so as they do in plays quite a lot, they use certain things to almost move you into a different act of the piece. And it really felt like when he got that wheelchair, he gets a wheelchair at a certain point, and then suddenly all the action is him moving around very slowly and deliberately in this wheelchair. And it feels like a whole new act has started. Like he's so pleased to get it. And there's lots of different things within it like that stop it from being boring because it's in the same room.
Yeah.
Because you do need a lot of impetus, like little impulses to change the rhythm, to change the light, lots of things to make it not feel boring when it's in the same space, especially in a film. And theaters were used to that, but in films we're so used to being almost overstimulated and being given loads of colours, loads of different things to look at. And in some films, goodness me, the landscape is like a character. But in this one, it's just not. The flat is just what it is. But the way that he gets around those things have really deep.
I think that's it. I would say the same for people that like when you're looking at a film and you look at it and think, God, that might be really depressing and stuff like that. And like it's sad. I mean, it's really, really sad. But
oh my God,
I actually didn't find it like massively depressing. It was actually quite engaging. Like there was always something going on. So I think from that point of view, if you look at it and go, is it one of these kind of artsy fartsy? But you're like, it's incredible from the point of view that it's like a 3-act play in one sort of space. But it does constantly feel like there's something going on. I mean, every single emotion that he feels could bring on a heart attack, let alone every emotion that he does, and that's quite stressful. So that's quite a lot of action, and the character relationships constantly change. and just his kind of career and the fact he's a really intelligent man and what he's gone through, and you see it, and there's alternate motives that are revealed later on
as well. Like, he's obviously a very kind and funny and engaging, clever man, and it's just fascinating.
I kind of don't want to say too much more in case we get into spoilers really with it, because there is, to say twist, there's lovely reveals in it rather than big twists. I think it's that kind of a thing. But I don't
even think those are the key part of it.
No,
I don't think that those are the most exciting bit about it. But anyway, watch it. I think if you haven't already, watch it.
Next, we're actually running out of time on this. We've really kind of gone for it today.
So anyway, so teasers for next week. What we are watching.
Oh no, we need to rate it. What are you going to rate
it? Sorry. It's a 5.
Yeah, I'm going to do 5 as well. So if that doesn't give you an idea, like if it's a really cracking film, it's like a must-watch film, which you would probably have heard that. So that's a 10. That's the first 10, I think, isn't it, for that one?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. Next week we are looking at reviewing.
Yeah, we're doing mostly documentary week. So the Waco American Apocalypse,
which looks insane. Totally mental.
And I do love culty stuff.
Yeah.
And that. So
it's a lot about our family.
And the second one is Money Shot, the Pornhub story.
Sorry, Mum and Dad. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You can still watch.
Is that where the term money shot actually derived from porn, or is that just like general?
Oh my God. I don't know. We'll dig into that next week. We'll bring the answer back for you next week.
I only just clicked on that because you've anyway.
That's not what this podcast is about.
No, it's not.
We'll give that information next week.
Succession is coming. So Succession launches next Monday. Or sort of the day after this comes out, so tomorrow, in the UK, and in the US it's the day this comes out. So we should, all being well, be able to watch the first episode.
Yeah, which would be something different. I think we're thinking about watching that episode by episode and doing reviews on that. Yeah. So if you want to do something similar, that would be great. We can review it in a slightly different way. We feel like there's a lot to unpack in Succession episodes.
And I feel like if we tried to do the whole series, it would be just drowning in that, because it's just so much. Every episode is like a full film. Generally, like if the past ones are
available on its HBO, so that'll be Sky, that'll be Now TV, I think, won't it?
And probably I think Hulu, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, it's we feel like it's worth doing week by week, because there's always just so much to talk about. And oh my goodness, the producers, their tagline was "It's all out war." I mean, it's all out war.
Well, there you are. So there you have it. That's going to be our reviews for next week. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have enjoyed, please do subscribe on the YouTube. Or a few lovely people have even started to support us on the Patreon. If we do get more followers on the Patreon, we'll start to upgrade. In fact, we've already used some of that money to upgrade the stream. We're going to bring in a live. We'll do a live recording. So if you can spare a few dollars each month, check us out on the Patreon. If not, don't worry, it'll always be available free. Let us know if you like the idea of watching Succession episode by episode, something a wee bit different.
Put the comments and and tell your pals. That would be awesome. Spread the love. And we'll see you next week.
And I'll update you on Scarlett's Pets then.
Yeah.
Hello, lunch.